Hey guys, I'm Lee from Lee Likes Music, the place to share, explore, and learn about rock music from Bandcamp. And in today's video, we're going to take a look at the Afghan Whigs' newest album, which is called In Spades. So that's coming up. So the Afghan Whigs started out as a garage punk band from Cincinnati, Ohio back in 1986. Early on, they were following in the footsteps of other bands, bigger bands such as The Replacements, Dinosaur Jr., and Mudhoney, and they were actually a part of this very critically acclaimed group of bands during the early 90s, but they never actually managed to pull through and push through to the mainstream level of rock music. But to this date, they have continuously had a very close fan base. They have this cult following, so that is actually a pretty good thing for the band, because they're actually pretty active today as well. One of the things that made this band stand out in their early beginnings is that they wanted to mix soul and post-rock. They wanted to fuse these genres together, and I can't say I've been checking out a lot of their previous albums, but it's something that I'm looking forward to do, because yeah, it's always cool to check out new bands. I'm trying to keep my mind open about these things. So yeah, I had never heard about this band until the release of In Spades, their newest album. It was released on the 5th of May, and yeah, let's just jump right into some of the tracks. Birdland is the first track, and it starts with this humanoid synchronized dramatic synth, and then from there it adds all of these different instruments. First the vocals, then some violins, I believe, and it just grows into this very orchestral arrangement that washes into the soundscape.
We'll come together when the feeling's right.
The second verse features this acoustic guitar, and it adds up to this very unexpected, lofty, and very serene listening experience, especially with the vocal performance of Greg Dully. He has this very soar and very touching way of singing. I'm not sure if I like his voice or if I don't like his voice. On some of the tracks on this album, he sings in a really nice way. His voice fits well together with the instruments and the track in general, but on other tracks it just feels a bit dull to listen to him. But nonetheless, Birdland is a great opening track to this record, so check it out. Arabian Heights is the second track, and this was actually the first track that kind of poked me and said, hey, look at me. This was the track that got my attention, that drew my attention into this album and this band in the first place. It actually isn't the best track that I've heard. It wasn't really like, there are obvious things that I like and obvious things that I don't like about the song. It's very catchy. It has this driving beat. I love the guitar parts on this song. If you listen to the segment after the verse, I think that is the pre-chorus, I love the guitar there. It just fits perfectly in creating this haunting, doomy vibe to the whole track. It adds this dark but also kind of exciting cadence to the song, and that is something that really stood out to me. Drum loops in the song, especially during the verse, also reminds me of some trip-hop beat. I can't quite put my finger on exactly what it reminds me of, but it reminds me of some sped-up trip-hop beat, so yeah. What I don't like about the song, is that it's not that cohesive. The song builds a lot of tension from the verse to the pre-chorus, and I feel like the pre-chorus is really the highlight here, and that is kind of sad, because in between the pre-chorus and the chorus, there's actually an instrumental bridge that just sucks out all the tension from the song. It is... why? The instrumental bridge is just too lengthy, and then 2 minutes and 15 seconds into the song, you end up with the chorus, which it really doesn't feel that lofty. It doesn't feel that pounding as a chorus should sound like. Everything is like it reaches its peak during the pre-chorus, and that's it. From that point onwards, the dynamics on the song, it's ruined. There's no balance. Now let's move over to the next track that I want to talk about. It's called Orioli, and it's the fourth track of the record. I was actually able to predict what they wanted to do in this song by only listening to 30 seconds of Orioli. I knew that they wanted to create the same type of vibe that they did in their previous song that I haven't mentioned, Demon in Profile, and then the song before that again, which I already talked about. They wanted to create this bricolage of this orchestral theme, this rich orchestral arrangement, and this serene rock theme, and it just felt predictable. I already knew like 30 seconds in what they wanted to create, and it wasn't really all that exciting. It didn't surprise me in any sort of way. Next up is the track The Spell. The song starts with what sounds like a metronome, maracas, and some synths, and what the band basically is doing with the song is to go with the same construct, with the same recipe that they followed in their previous songs. They wanted to mix something orchestral with something more hard rock themed. So they have violas here, they have violins, there's also some horns as a bit of a mix-up, but it really doesn't offer me anything different from the previous track that I mentioned. It all adds up to this light-hearted, meandering, and also confusing sonic soundscape that doesn't lead anywhere. I don't know exactly how to put this, but I think that these guys put an excessive amount of attention into the orchestration of these songs instead of putting more focus and more emphasis on the actual structure, the melody, and just the dynamics of the songs. All of that fails. I mean, the orchestration and the idea behind mixing these classical instruments and this epic, rich soundscape with something rock-ish, that is good. I mean, a lot of artists have done this before. I mean, look at The Second Law or Resistance by Muse. These albums are great, and these have a lot of orchestration, but the Afghan Whigs on this album, they just fall very short of creating and mixing these fusions. So yeah, it's kind of sad, but that's just the way it is. I want to go on to talk about their other tracks as well, but I feel like me talking about those songs, that will be very samey, because I have a lot of the same things to say about all of the songs. There are similar things that I like. There's a bit of catchiness, there's a bit of cohesiveness, and these guys certainly know how to create a song. They have the knowledge of they know how to put a song together in terms of structure, and they do have talent, but it just doesn't shine through on many of the tracks. I want to say that I checked out Black Love, which is an album they gave out during the 90s. I think it's the 5th studio album from the band, and I think that this is actually a much better record. I know that it's wrong to compare, but at the same time I just feel like I have to do this because it's a part of the history of the band. I feel like the band was a lot more cohesive. I feel like the songs had a lot more, they were more fine-tuned. They knew what they wanted to sound like, while on this album, on In Spades, it sounds like they wanted to experiment. They wanted to try out something new, which is absolutely great. I would love for them to do that, but sadly it didn't turn out to sound authentic, good, and it doesn't sound like it has any replay value, at least not for me. My first impression of Black Love is really good. I mean, they wanted to strike a balance between contemporary sounds and experimentation, and I just love that mix. And I'm going to return to that album, and maybe it is a grower, maybe I won't like it at all, but if you ever want to check out their music, go and check this album here out. But if you get a bad impression like I did, don't just stop there. I mean, there's a reason why the Afghan Whigs have a cult following. It is because they actually created some good music. So I'm at least keeping my mind open despite of this downturn for the band. So yeah, the Afghan Whigs, In Spades. I'm gonna give this album a 5 out of 10. There are some highlights here and there, but it just doesn't weigh up for the imbalance of the experimentation that the band did on this album, sadly. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you like to share, explore, and learn about rock music from Bandcamp, then I highly suggest you click the red subscribe button below. Also, make sure you hit that bell icon beside the subscribe button, because in that way you'll always get notified when I upload new videos to YouTube. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching again, guys. Hope to see you later. Stay tuned. Bye.